The vision and promise of the CTMU, as I see it, are threefold. 1. Formulate a foundational metaphysic that faithfully mirrors the logos, meaning the inner structure of God and the universe that we inhabit. 2. Overcome parasitic divergence, meaning shining light on the global power structure, money power, and our subverted history, and transform these into just and fair systems. And 3. Achieving our human destiny, meaning achieving the teleology of the universe, in which God is recognized in all and by all. There is global peace and flourishing, the kingdom of heaven on earth. Concerning formulating a foundational metaphysic / logos-made thought, the CTMU creates a fundamental framework that explains scientific observation, connects mind and reality, and provides a bridge between science and spirituality, and rational justification for the theological insights of various religions. Concerning religion, the CTMU offers the logical structure for a meta-religion that faithfully mirrors Christianity while retaining the theological insights and practices of the different religious traditions. Chris Langan, the author of the CTMU, initially called this meta-religion the Church of Teleology and Multiplex Unity, which means the Church of the Will of God, who is ultimate reality. Essentially, by uniting the various faiths under the theological heading of CTMU, meta-religion, and its logical theology. With regard to science and culture, the CTMU affects what was termed by my friend Greg Wilford Enlightenment 2.0 with a re-embrace of God, meaning integrating the insights and advances of the scientific and cultural enlightenment with a classical worldview, as well as correcting for each of their excesses, as well as those of the Industrial Revolution, which occurred around the same time. We can have a lower-tech, steady-state economy more in line with the constraints of our planet's ecology and our intrinsic purpose as human beings, including humans as the primary metaphysical technology of interest instead of consumer products. As practiced globally, monopoly capitalism, socialism, and communism each lead to a parasitic divergence where all money and power gets centralized in the hands of a tiny elite. The way humans naturally organize is reflected in small-scale worker democracy like distributism, an artisan economy, a return to ruralism and an agricultural lifestyle, a planned economy, a return to some traditional religion, and a move away from GDP and economic metrics as the measures of prosperity, instead seeking the material, communal, and spiritual fulfillment of each individual. We also need to regulate our numbers rationally and responsibly to deal with our overpopulation crisis. Concerning science, the current scientific establishment is hopelessly corrupt. We must reinvent academia through parallel institutions. We must move beyond mechanistic materialism, which academia currently advocates, and revive a classical conception of the world using CTMU metaphysics. A major next step on this front is the CTMU unified field theory, which Langan hints at in his 2018 Metaformal System paper, which would unite general relativity with quantum field theory and is the long-sought physical theory of everything by the sciences. We need online courses that properly instruct people in the science and logic of reality, the CTMU. Reviving a classical conception of the world concerning science means that we must blur the lines between metaphysics, philosophy, religion, and science, which have been spuriously erected in the last few hundred years, and thus achieve scientific insight far more remarkable than ancient or modern thinkers. Chris Langan writes, the CTMU is intended not as a brittle, undersized pot that will root bind and choke the world's growing knowledge, but as fertile and well-aerated soil through which it can spread. By its very design, the CTMU will continue to accommodate and accelerate our intellectual progress, and since no other theory fully shares its design, it is irreplaceable for that purpose. Regarding art and culture, we will need a Renaissance 2.0 and a re-embrace of the European and Western cultural heritage based fundamentally on the logos, new art, new music, new culture, to capture the experiential and visceral aspect of ultimate reality. With outstanding art like William Blake's poems or Bach's music, their work mirrors the inner structure of the cosmos. Music, art, and culture make or break civilization, and the current state of these fields is horrendous. The next Bach or William Blake may not even be a poet or classical musician, but will create unimaginably pure and blessed art. Beauty, a function of the coherence and intrinsic purpose of the universe, will save the world. We can create and produce artistic ways of understanding the CTMU in the near term. Many Michelangelos will be needed for this project. The CTMU worldview can also soothe ecological destruction and formulate a positive environmental ethic, the resacralization of nature. Revising the classical way of looking at the world requires new mythology. Myths are the stories that guide us forward. Mythology encourages people to participate in their destiny. New mythology is possible because of advanced metaphysics, fresh culture, and a deeper symbolic understanding of the world. A rigorous mythology also helps us formulate the proper role of the masculine and feminine in the world, which has been hopelessly confused and misunderstood in the past century by both radical feminists and so-called traditionalists. The CTMU can heal the religious divides between not only the Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox Church, but also restore the true, one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church under a meta-religious heading from this metaphysical framework that justifies Christian values and can, like this, redeem society from cruelty and injustice. We can unleash the fullness of Catholicism. Although the global power structure and money power have subsumed the Vatican at present, Catholicism underlies the legacy of divine providence native to Western civilization and European history. Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. We must create and establish justice and place a new focus on it in light of the severe injustice our world faces. Christian planeticism transcends the false dichotomy between globalism and nationalism. Although standing against multiculturalism, mass immigration, and the destruction of the nuclear family, it maintains global cooperation on nuclear proliferation, pandemics, AI, ecology, and other threats, and how to build a good world by alternating and respecting the national and global strata of our identity. American nationalism in particular is justified because America is in many ways the last stronghold against parasitic divergence, because we have the most robust constitution and the spirit of our people is one of patriotism and revolution. America is, or can be, a city on a hill or a beacon of hope and righteousness, but we have some dirt bags to throw. Most governments now have fallen prey to a global occupation government. As my friend Greg Wilford again pointed out in his video, Banksters, the Lord of Disaster, the handful of families that have dominated global finance for the past 3 centuries, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgans, and others, control the lives and destinies of every person on the planet, and are the authors of the disasters and hardships besetting the West, controlling the money power through central banking. We need to uncover and replace the international banksters, which will likely cause financial, economic, and physical Armageddon in the short term. Therefore, presenting an alternative vision for a society based on the intrinsic logos of the universe is crucial. Establish justice, return to God, end the money power, preserve the founding values of the American constitutional republic, and permanently encode the logos using meta-ethics of the CTMU. Create a new logocratic constitution with the CTMU at its center. Redistribute human utility by shifting to a telic economy based on people's intrinsic needs. Uphold and strengthen borders while preserving the diversity of peoples. Call attention to deep politics, think tanks, intelligence agencies, the military-industrial complex, the bureaucratic state, and the parasitic capture of governments. The CTMU overcomes our modern meaning crisis in the wake of the so-called death of God and the decline of religion by proving the existence and simplicity of God. God is the ground of being. The CTMU situates the various faiths from which many have fallen away under the umbrella of CTMU meta-religion in the unyielding rock of the Logos. The CTMU's view of causation as telic recursion, meaning reality manifests from the will and intention of individuals, encourages people to participate in their destinies. The CTMU eviscerates all claims of ultimate meaningless or nihilism by showing that the basic unit of reality is its own meaning and purpose, telesis, and that teleology is fundamental. God's teleology forms the basis of an ethical system that can justify the vision of the CTMU and overcome the beast system of the tech singularity from those who control all of the technological and financial capital and immunize the populace against parasitic mind control by the global elites. Further awareness of central banking, societal ills, etc. must be supplemented by an exciting view and vision to achieve the intrinsic destiny of humankind, or else it produces only nihilism and despair. We must build physical and online communities where new art, culture, and science can arise, a return to the land to match the Industrial Revolution of 2 centuries ago. We must focus on building beautiful and intentional communities with grand and classical aesthetics reflecting Western civilization's heritage, new churches, schools, communities, etc. to formulate a positive vision for the future. We can structure reality using network states, trial communities, and decentralized models to distribute agency over human destiny and test how to run a state optimally and discover the form of the good as it relates to the organization of society. In other words, how to enact true justice in our communities. Chris Langan calls the CTMU the eschatological hope of the Chris Langan calls the human singularity the eschatological hope of the CTMU, the distribution of knowledge, intelligence, and morality to the populace by any means necessary, which is how we can achieve the teleology of the universe and humankind, because this is how humans ought to be, i.e. with the maximum intellectual and moral perfection. This sort of societal revamp is restoring the space-time order and bringing heaven down to earth symbolically, meaning bringing to bear what God is trying to actualize. The revelation of God to the prophet Isaiah expresses the converse of this. He says, they take no note of what I am designing, says God. Humankind is not just chemical scum supervening eons-old physical processes, but is integral and necessary to the teleology of the universe. Langan says to increase humankind's knowledge, intelligence, and morality, we will need proper education, the systematic inculcation of responsibility, and if necessary, reasonable attention to genetic hygiene as it affects both the individual constitution and population genetics. Through CTMU meta-religion, the brotherhood of man, and the kingdom of heaven on earth, we can create the ideal future for ourselves and become a spiritually renewed species with the marks of strength, salvation, and light. Let the light shine forth in the darkness. May the peace of our Father in heaven be upon you. Like and subscribe. Peace.